Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a technological leap that is literally rewiring the internet as we know it. We're going to explore the wild future of decentralized computing and specifically focus on a groundbreaking concept known as Arctic, or the global swarm. Look, if you care at all about your data, your privacy, or just where the digital world is heading, you're absolutely going to want to pay close attention to this. Let's get started.
So let me ask you a question. Who really owns the cloud? Seriously, take a second and think about it. When you upload a photo, save a super important document, or run a piece of software, where is that data actually going? Who controls the physical servers that hold your entire digital life? Well, for the vast majority of us, the answer is just a handful of massive tech companies. You are essentially renting space in someone else's house. You're forced to play by their rules, and you're relying entirely on their security.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The old web, walled gardens, and those centralized data silos.
Right now, our everyday reality is dominated by the giants of the old web. Think AWS, Google Cloud. They're basically centralized walled gardens. And sure, they're incredibly powerful, but because they are so centralized, they represent a single point of failure. It's a massive concentration of control over your data. Honestly, they're fragile. If a major server farm goes down somewhere, half the internet goes down right along with it. But challenging this Goliath is a brand new architecture called Layer 3, also known as the global swarm. Instead of relying on a few massive data centers, it envisions an indestructible, totally decentralized network. Moving right along to Section 2, Arctic, the global swarm and how it's dismantling those silos. Let's break down exactly what this means. ARCT stands for Autonomous Routing and Compute Triangulated Integrated Core. Yeah, I know, it's quite the mouthful. But the concept here is just brilliant. What it represents is a global, completely autonomous backbone for compute and storage. Instead of all your data flowing into one giant centralized corporate hub, ARCT routes information and processing power autonomously across a massive web of independent nodes. And that leads us to the core vision driving this entire network: compute for the people, by the people. This really highlights that Arctic isn't just another tech company trying to sell you a product. It's a structural revolution. It's powered by distributed nodes, which, by the way, could literally be everyday devices owned by regular people all around the world, rather than being controlled and monetized by a single trillion-dollar corporation. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is Section 3, Why Arctic Matters to You, focusing on 4 core user benefits. So, why does all of this matter to you? Let's look at the first major benefit: data immortality. This is achieved through what they call swarm storage. Think about how you save your files right now. You put them on a hard drive that could just break tomorrow, or you upload them to a centralized server that could get hacked, shut down, or mysteriously lose your data. With Arctic, when you save a file, it isn't just sitting on one vulnerable server anymore. Let's actually walk through the exact lifecycle of a file so you can see how cool this is. Step 1. You save your file to the Arctic network. Step 2, and this is where the magic happens. Your file is instantly fragmented into highly encrypted little pieces, or shards. Step 3. Those shards are then distributed entirely across the global swarm. Because it works like this, your memories, your documents, your most private files, they become virtually indestructible. If one node goes offline, it doesn't even matter because the network just reassembles your file from the other shards. And since it's fully encrypted and fragmented, no one but you can access it. The second core benefit comes down to affordable power. Arctic manages to do this by tapping into a global network of idle compute power. Think about all the computers, gaming rigs, and servers sitting basically dormant right now all over the world. Arctic pools all that idle energy together to handle heavy processing tasks. Whether you're talking about AI rendering, complex data analysis, or running massive localized backups, the network easily handles it just by distributing the load. And this brilliantly illustrates the financial impact of that shift. Instead of paying those crazy premium prices charged by big tech for their centralized servers, you get to benefit from compute arbitrage. Because Arctic uses idle, pre-existing hardware across the globe, instead of building multi-billion-dollar data centers from scratch, tasks cost a fraction of the price. And the best part? Those massive cost savings get passed directly back to you, the user. Section 4. Edge Intelligence and Participation Rewards, looking at active community involvement. Seriously, where do your private conversations go? When you speak to a digital assistant today or type sensitive prompts into an AI app on your phone, that data usually has to travel hundreds or even thousands of miles to a distant central data center just to be processed, and then the answer gets sent back to you. Not only does that create annoying latency, but much worse, it creates a massive privacy vulnerability.
That stark reality brings us to benefit 3, edge intelligence. Because Arctic nodes are distributed literally everywhere, one could potentially be running on your neighbor's device. Processing doesn't have to travel all the way to some distant server farm. It happens locally, right at the edge of the network. This provides real-time, low-latency AI assistance that is incredibly fast. And more importantly, it means your private conversations and data can be processed locally, keeping them completely private and far out of the hands of centralized tech giants. Finally, benefit 4, participation rewards. This entire global swarm is built from the ground up on community contribution. Users can actively contribute their own idle hardware to the Arctic backbone. So when you aren't using your computer's full processing power, you can securely lend it out to the network. And in return, you are actively rewarded for that contribution. So the crucial point is this. Traditionally, hardware is just a pure cost center. You buy a $1,000 laptop, it depreciates, it drains electricity, and it just generally drains your money. But through the Arctic ecosystem, your hardware totally transforms. Because you earn participation rewards for supplying the network with compute power, your devices suddenly become active value generators. You are quite literally getting paid to help power the decentralized internet. Let's move to our final section and see how this builds together. Section 5, the decentralized cloud transformation, a true paradigm shift. To put it simply, Arctic turns the cloud into, and I quote, a transparent, decentralized utility, owned by the community. The cloud is no longer a corporate monopoly. It becomes a shared resource, maintained by the exact same people who use it. That ensures absolute transparency, massive cost reductions, and completely unbreakable data sovereignty. As this technology scales up and those old walled gardens finally begin to fall, you will no longer just be a passive consumer of the internet. You'll be an active participant and a literal owner of its infrastructure. So how will you use your piece of the global swarm? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and we really hope you feel empowered to take full control of your digital footprint.